Yo, what is up guys, Eflip Gaming here, back with another video, and as you can see here in the background, I am on the Dofus Touch website. As I've explained last week in one of my Touch videos, I am going to participating in an event on in the first week of April, where Dofus Touch is going to release new servers, and it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be participating with Mr. Black, Washington, and Single Malt doing the event, which is gonna be really cool, and we already pre-registered on the new server. But for this video, I actually want to go over the classes real quick, because it's really interesting. So there's only 15 classes in the game, because Dofus Touch does not have the Ujinak, Forge Lance, Hupper Mage, and Heliotrope yet. Maybe they will be added in the future, I have no idea. So it's only 15 classes, and as you can see here in the background, there's no spell variants either, so it's just one single bar of spells, which is pretty nice. So you only have, you pretty much unlock the spells from level 1 to 100, and then at level 200, each class will gain this spell, which buffs the AP by 1 infinitely for the duration of the fight, as well as increasing the spell percentage damage. Other than that, the leveling of spell works the exact same thing as in the old school Dofus, where you just have to level up, and the spells go level up as well. So at first I was planning actually to go over all of these spells individually, but it seems to be taking a little bit long time. So what I'm gonna do for this video is I'm gonna be going over the classes, just gonna explain quickly the spell, like the class mechanics, like what is the class, what does this class do, and what is this class used for, and hopefully the video is gonna be a little bit shorter, because going over each spell individually just takes a ton of time. So we start out with the Enutroph. Enutroph can inflict heavy damage, but also apply major penalties to their enemies. These treasure hunters inflict serious damage on their enemies with their shovels and coins. They can also slow their enemies down, unbewitching them and reduce their range. They can even summon bags or chests to protect them, or heal their allies when things get rough. So going over the general kit of the Enutroph real quick. It has some MP reducing spells, so it can reduce the MP of enemies and also reduce the MP loss resistance. The Strength Path has a spell that if you range reduce on the enemies, you will deal additional damage. So we have Shovel Throwing, which reduces the range. And you have a Strength Steel spell. Chance has Unbewitchment. Intelligence has Unbewitchment and a low line of sight spell, as well as some spells that can do more damage on summons and reduce heals on enemies. And the other utility spells the Enutroph has are just some general buffing spells like MP buff, power buff, more power buffs, and some healing. Next up we got the Eflip. Feline fighters inflict serious damage. The effects of some of their attacks are random. Now this is an interesting one. This feels to me like the old school Eflip, where everything has a chance of happening. Eflips are feline fighters with a taste for chaos. The effects of some of their spells are subject to chance, but with a little luck. They can really pay off. They can unleash powerful attacks, easily make their way around the battlefield, and even move their enemies around. So what I've noticed with the Eflip is actually, most of these spells have an effect between non-critting and critting. There's also a spell that can buff your crits by 200% for one turn, but it reduces it in the next turn. Most of these spells have an effect. For example, this one, if you don't crit, you do reduce the crit on the enemy, but if you do crit, you actually buff your own crits. And also some other spells like agility and strength. If you crit, the damage becomes a fixed line. It does insane damage. Every spell has like a little small bonus. So for example, this one, if you don't crit, but the enemy crits, you gain an MP. But if you do crit on the spell, and the enemy lands a critical hit, they lose AP. So there's all these kind of effects that the Eflip has, which are really cool. You have Smell to buff your AP and MP. We got Luck that buffs your HP, but removes it the next turn. We got Repercussion for some buffing as well. And yeah, a really fun class in my opinion. I definitely want to try that one out, maybe as later as well. At the end of this video, I will tell you guys which class I will be playing on the when the new server actually comes out. So we got the eye up next. Warriors with offensive spells that inflict huge damage. Eye ups are warriors with attacks that inflict huge damage. They can attack in an area of effect or focus on a single target and neutralize it as quickly as possible. Effective in a short range, they can jump to dive into the combat and make a strategic retreat when things are going rough. So, fun fact about the eye up. This is an interesting spell. We got Vitality. Now, Vitality buffs your HP, but it also gives you the Vitality state for 2 turns. And this will make the Strength, Storm, Pressure, and Upheaval spells become lifesteal. So, as this spell, Strength, Storm, Fire damage, Pressure, Earth damage, and we got Upheaval, Air damage. Eye up can apply Erosion on multiple spells, does some pushing. I think it can pull as well. And of course, the strength build will do a lot of damage with the old school Wrath. Although it has been changed for the touch. I think it works a little bit like the Wrath variant of the current Dofus. Inflicts earth damage. The spell damage is increased after each casting. So you can cast it every single turn and it's only 4 AP. But look at this. Increases the damage by 30. So this is a pretty strong spell and you can cast it every single turn. And Sword of Fate works a little bit the same, but I would definitely try this one out if you like big damage class. Next up we got the Sadis. Are druids who make trees grow and summon dolls that attack, bewitch and heal injuries. Sadis are druids with a knack of voodoo magic. They can summon dolls to injure and apply penalties to their enemies, or heal and apply bonuses to their allies. They can also summon a variety of trees to protect themselves or obstruct enemies. So the Sadis strength build is just mainly damage and stealing some MP. The chance build, honestly, there's some water steal here. We got some MP, minus MP parry, so can they probably MP reduce with wild grass? Yes, they can, minus 2 MP. We got earthquake that does some pulling. We got more MP reducing. The dolls, the inflatable dolls, they buff the MP and they can heal. Ultra powerful reduces the MP of the enemies. What do we have? The block to block the enemies. We got the sacrificial doll that inflicts damage when it sacrifices itself. So other than that, this one really feels like the old Sadis we had back in the days. Insolent Bramble reduces the effect duration by 4. So this really looks like the old Sadis that I'm used to playing back in the days. Next up we got the Sacri. Now I really wonder how strong this is going to be on touch. Absorb enemy hits for their allies to protect them and become even more powerful. Sacris are berserkers who are not afraid to jump right into the fray. These extremely tough fighters place themselves on the front line, take damage instead of their allies. The more damage they take, the more powerful they gain, and the harder they're able to hit. They can also pull their enemies towards them or move quickly around the battlefield. Now, I want to quickly go over some of the utility spells. We got Transposition, you can swap with the enemies, right? We got Sacrifice, same old thing. Sacrifice does damage interception. We got Martyr Punishment. Now this one is interesting. Increases the caster's power, then increases it again each time damage is received. Removes the effect of the Final Punishment spell. So, every time you get hit, you become stronger. Final Punishment though is reduces the damage they suffer, but lowers their attacking power. So this is more like a tanky build, and this is more like a damage build, right? Purge is an bewitchment spell. Retribution now, old school spell. This one is 35% of the caster's eroded HP as neutral damage. We got some chance spell, which though erosion on yourself, I think. Yeah, actually, so Sacrier have spells that deal erosion to their self. That's interesting. And then this spell is based on the eroded HP. So you can actually erode yourself to increase the damage on Retribution. That's interesting, though. Yeah, so I think every single spell, well, not really every single spell. I think only the chance ones, no? But the chance spells have the erosion effect, and only the chance spells though. Earth is just straight up damage, attracting, and agility has some positioning in it as well, and some steel, MP steel. So yeah, pretty interesting class. Now the Feka. Fekas are protectors who reduce the damage they receive. They can also place glyphs that inflict damage on an area of effect. Fekas are protectors who can significantly reduce the damage they suffer by allies or themselves. They can place glyphs on the battlefield that inflict damage or applies penalties to enemies caught inside them. So, like I mentioned with the Sadis, this is like old school Feka playstyle. You have the 3 elements, so no agility on this. You have the glyphs, no variance at all. You have to play with the glyphs. And you have the bubble. You have the cloudy attack. You have blindness that does minus crit, so no AP reduction, by the way, guys. Pretty much like we have backlash, steal strength, right? Natural attack, steals intelligence, pushes back. We got some old school glyphs that with it increases dodge. This one that lowers the attack power of enemies in an area of effect. We got, what is this? Range invulnerability. Yep. Close combat invulnerability. We got ataraxia, which actually this is the old ataraxia. It just completely reduces the next attack you take. Heroism switches position. So this is like, what's the spell called? Excursion glyph. We got truce that puts the passive state. Feka shield. Old school Feka over here. Really like this. So next up we got the Osa. Summoners who can send creatures to fight on their behalf. Osa modas can summon multiple creatures to attack, repel, or lock their opponents. They can strengthen, heal, and take control of their creatures, or even destroy them to strengthen their other summons. So Osa is pretty much chance, intelligence, or agility. No strength build over here. Actually, the summons are completely different than what I'm used to. Like, not totally, but we got the Boar, which is an old school summon, Crackler, and the Wormling, right? But we also got now the Koala. That's new to me. And the Gobble is, of course, old school. We got inflicts water damage, increases the damage inflicted on the target. So you can cast a spell on an enemy, and then the summons will do more damage on the enemy. I like this really a lot. We got MP buff. We got Ghostly Claw. Steals HP. We got Crow. What else do we have? Whip. Does it instantly kill summons? It does, right? Yeah, you can instantly kill your own summons with Whip. Crackler Punch. Huge AoE in spell. We got a nice chance spell over here that increases the caster's and summons power. We got Favoritism. I bet this one buffs the summons though. Animal Spirits. You gain more summons. So, Communion. Okay, sacrifices one of the caster's summons to give a bonus depending on summons killed. So if you kill a Tofu, you gain an MP bonus. If you kill a Boar, you gain pushback damage bonus. Power, Vitality, Shield, or AP. So that's a pretty interesting one. These are the bonuses right there. And you can put a summon back to life. Switches targets. Like Osa, it's an interesting class for touch, I'm not gonna lie. Next up we go to Shem. Back in the days, my favorite class. And actually, when I checked my account on the Dofus Touch, I still had the Shem on there because it used to be my main. Shem. Stealthy killers can make themselves invisible. They can set traps on the battlefield and push their enemies into them. Shrems are stealthy assassins who can turn invisible and place traps on the battlefield, undetectable to their opponents. These traps are triggered as soon as the enemy steps on them. Pretty much, we got the old school strength build. I do wonder though, lethal attack. If the caster is in a contract killer state, the spell inflicts higher damage. Steal strength. Okay. So, what is the contract killer? This one. Applies the contract state to the target. And in this state, the target suffers higher spell damage from allies and the caster. When the caster or one of the allies kills the target, they receive a temporary AP bonus. If the spell is recast on the caster, the contract state is removed and the caster received a temporary HP penalty. If the spell is cast on a new target, the contract is removed from the previous target applied to the new target. It's interesting. So you deal more damage on the target with the state on. Con air damage. This is air, poison, raiding, steals agility. This damage is insane though. Like, look at this. What? That's interesting though. Shem is pretty interesting class. So we got traps. And we got, I think, more poison. No, just raw damage. Intelligence, traps, pushback, tricky trap. If you suffer trap damage, you steal health. Larcenary, steals intelligence, attracts. I mean, interesting class though, not gonna lie. Next up we got the Karr. Archers who inflict heavy range damage. Karrs can set up multiple beacons on the battlefield that replicate all the archers' attacks around them. They can also attack their enemies directly with their arrows and protect themselves by pushing them back. Now, we got the tactical beacon, right? Summons a tactical beacon that can serve as a target or relay for cross spells. Only 3 beacons can be on this field at the same time. After being summoned, the beacon gains a temporary vitality bonus for every non-summoned enemy on the battlefield. This bonus is doubled if the enemy is a monster. When the spell is cast on a beacon, it inflicts pushback damage on it. The beacon inflicts air damage in an area of effect. Oh, okay. So each spell will have an effect when cast on the beacon, I think. So when we did the test, like the crash server test, I was actually playing a Karr. Played around with the strength build a little bit, got some pushing back, some 3 AP spoils with AoE as well. This spell caught my eye. It's a strength spell, but what it does, it basically acts as a class item for Karr. So it does like what? Plaguing arrow no longer requires line of sight. Reduces punitive arrow AKP cost by 1. Increases the maximum number of transfusion arrow that can be cast by target by 1. So this one, you can cast it twice a target. It's pretty interesting though, that they have a spell, like a buff, that acts like a class boost. We got bow skill, we got range, crits, power, all in one buff. This is really nice. Recall beacon. We got some intelligence spell that do some pushing back. Explosive arrow. I think this is just the old one. Increases the casters and the allies' power for each enemy in the AoE, so it actually buffs. It's interesting though. Panda. Now I'm interested in the Panda though, because obviously I'm a Panda main, right? So Pandas can carry their allies or enemies, move them around the battlefield. Quick drink lets them inflict more damage. The Pandas are warriors who can carry their enemies and allies to place them wherever they want on the battlefield. They have powerful attacks, spells that gain additional strength by drinking. They can summon a barrel that attracts targets and heals nearby allies. Old school barrel that pulls. I like this one though. We also got the Westa. We don't have intelligence build though. So we have the old school hangover. We got Panda attack. Reduces the power of enemies. Prohibition. Attracts. Increases melee resistance. Hooch. We got some... so the spell names are a little bit different on Touch. And they seem to have like extra effects compared to back in the day. So for example... Hooch buffs critical damage, right? Melancholy is just straight up damage. We got some agility spells. This one pushes back. This one has an extra effect as well. So Panda is more about placement because you still have the MP buff, the Unbewitchment, minus duration. We got stabilization. And this is the Karr gun. Carries the target and on second casting throws the target. What is the range on this one? Does it say the range? You have 6 uses at least. Oh, by 5. So 5 range. So this is pretty much the old school Panda, which I really like. We got vulnerability. Nice one. How many cast? Sadly only 1 though. per target. But 15% more damage. Pretty nice. Next up, we got the Masquerade. The Masquerades use their masks to change their attributes. They can easily push or pull. Or quickly close in on their enemies. Masquerades are warriors who can put on different masks for different situations. They can easily push, pull, or quickly close in on their enemies. They can apply powerful shields to themselves or their allies to absorb multiple hits. Now we got some spells. Let's go and check the shields. We got Trance, same as the regular shield with Diffraction. Buffs all enemies and allies. We got Turuga, shields, Plastron, shields, based on your level, by the way. We got strength. I think these are very similar to the old Masquerade. Fury buffs damage, apathy, MP reduction. No, actually a damage penalty to the enemy. This is dodge. Stampede buffs MP. We got capering, that's buffs power, air steel, damage. What chance is this? Is like the pulling. Bully is pushback damage, so they still have the pushback damage effect as well. And the mask. So Figuris mask buffs the AP. We got Psychopath buffs melee damage, and Coward buffs MP. Next up, we got the Xelar. Xelar. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I say anything wrong here, because these spells are pretty tricky. Because they recently revamped it. This is also the only class that has these effects. Sorcerers that use their spells to slow down enemies and prevent them from playing. The ability to manipulate time. They trip up their enemies, preventing them from casting their spells. But they can also control their movements by teleporting themselves and casting spells through the dial. Now, the interesting thing is, are these spells that have 2 elemental effects. So, honestly, when I looked at this the first time, it seemed hella confusing to me. So, I'm sorry if I butchered the Xelar here. But, inflicts fire damage on a target. The caster is greater when the target is in the Telefract state. Prismatic variation. Sure. On an enemy, inflicts air damage. The damage is greater. On an ally, heals the target. The healing is greater. Honestly, there are like variations that you can do. What is the... let me actually check. Okay, honestly, I don't know exactly. But there is like a way that you can play around with the Telefract state. And you can change the element of your spells. So for example, this is a water damage spell. But if you somehow get this prismatic variation... so when the spell is cast through the dial, it will inflict fire damage. So you can change the element of the spell. Pretty interesting. I have no idea how this will turn out when you actually do it, but seems hella interesting. Other than that, Xelar can like cast Telefrax, buff itself as well as allies, I feel like. Increases the damage and AP. I don't know if this is cast on an ally as well, but rollback. Teleports to previous position. Telefrax generated are more powerful but last less time. Okay, interesting. Honestly, this seems to me, especially for touch, since you do it on like what, mobile phone and tablet, hella confusing class. So I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go in depth. If you want like a high skill ceiling class, go with the Xelar. It does look pretty interesting, but it does look really difficult as well. So we got 3 classes left. We got the Aniripsa healers who drain health from enemy and steal and heal allies. Aniripsas are healers who can steal health points from their enemies and heal allies. They can place cursed masks that apply penalties to their opponents. Blessed marks that take care of their teammates. They can also summon and move vials. Oh, so they actually did implement the vial from the new Aniripsa that we actually have. Summons a flask that applies the blessed mark to allies. When the Aniripsa inflicts air damage on it, using Draining Ward returns 2 AP. to it and heals allies in an AoE. Okay. Nice. There's another spell, so Intelligence does fire damage or healing. Air does damage and it apparently heals allies when they are like around the file. Coney, still the same, I think. Coney has different states, so fire heals the target, water increases the target's power, and air increases the MP. So honestly, the new Annie seems kind of interesting though. Some spells like Vampiric Ward like used like they work like before, right? But then you have these special effects that are a little bit different. So we have the AP buff. Yeah, like... What is this? What? AoE? No. I feel like this is no AoE though. Just a single target spell though. That's kind of sad. But it's still a nice class in my opinion. Also, we got Remedy Flask and we got Toxic Flask. Intoxicates enemies. More or less air damage based on it. When it dies. Okay. So the... inflicts more or less damage based on the intoxication level on all the enemies on the field. When it dies, inflicts air damage. Okay, cool. So basically, you have like an air toxic state when you go with air spells. Interesting class though. Now, I feel like Rogue is one of those classes that's going to be really tricky to play on touch as well. Place bombs and to form bomb walls, inflict damage. They can pull or push enemies into them. Rogues are pyrotechnicians who place bombs on the battlefield. When 2 or more bombs are aligned, they form a wall, like a line, inflict heavy damage on anyone going in it. Rogues can push or pull enemies into the bombs or blow the bombs up to finish the enemies off. Pretty interesting. We got fire, water, and... Wait, what? Where's air? Here's air. We got extraction, so fire, steel, pulsar, fire damage. What is the chance build? AP reduction and erosion. Water is like MP reduction or not? Yeah, it is, yeah. And when you can detonate bombs, kaboom. Makes allies invulnerable to the bomb damage. We got dirty trick to swap, magnet to pull bombs, kickback, boombot. This one is similar to old school Rogue. Nothing too crazy about this one. This is really like old school Rogue before the spell variant changes. Alright, last class is the Foggernaut. Now the Foggernaut Tacticians summon and upgrade turrets to attack, heal or take control on the battlefield. Foggernauts are Tacticians. I read that correct, right? Tacticians? I have no idea what that means. Who can place turrets on the battlefield. These fixed summons can attack, heal or move nearby targets. Foggernauts can also upgrade the turrets, so I feel like this is gonna be old school Fogger. We got Anchor, Earth damage, Trident, Earth damage, Backwash pushes back. Water attracts, pushes, and range buff. Grapnel, Tide, these are all old school spells. So we got the Scapender. This one, I think you buff. Any AP removal increase MP. Increases the casters and targeted allies damage and pushback damage. So that's what you get. We got Harpooner that does damage. Lifesaver that heals. Tech turrets that can push and pull enemies. And you got the evolution to buff it up. And we got Salt Armor. So this is, yeah, similar. Old school. Foggernaut basically. Targets his allied, suffer close combat damage. Yeah, so the turrets suffer close combat damage instead of you. We got the ambush as well. How much range does this have? 8 range, guys. So for those of you who missed the old school ambush, you can play on touch. And it has the old school 8 range multiple element damage. So really nice. So we got first aid. Does it buff the AP though? Lifesaver special spell. What is the Lifesaver special spell? It heals, but does it AP buff though? Can't really see it from here, but they might do. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it really for all of the classes. Now guys, I pre-registered on the server, right? I don't know if I'm gonna change my pick, But so far, I have picked the Karr. First of all, because of the event, there's going to be challenges that I'm going to be participating in, right? With the community. And I feel like Karr is just going to be the class that can like quickly progress early game, play either like agility or strength. I really like the strength build when I played on the Crash server, but I feel like agility might be strong, like strong, really, really strong. I don't know about int, we'll have to test this all out, but it is going to be Karr. Also, I like the high range of the Karr, of course. Other classes that are really, really interested to me are the Eflip, because of the random crit effects that it has. It looks to me that it's just a fun class. Also, IOP, because of the vitality, has just a different effect that I haven't ever played on the IOP, of course, but it just, other than that, maybe not really. Feka, I wish they gave more love to the Feka though. It's just like playing with glyphs. We all know glyphs aren't too strong. What other classes do I find interesting? Any Ripsa probably. Seems really strong, but I don't know. Like we will have to see. Oh yeah, Shem. If I switch from Karr to anything else, it'd probably be Shem. The agility build seems kind of strong. You get like 5 spells, strength as well, using the contract effect to deal more damage. Like look at the damage that lethal attack does. But we're gonna try out with the Karr first, see how it goes. If it's horrible, we're gonna switch it up to Shem, and we'll see about that. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned on my channel for Dofus Touch updates, and hopefully we'll see you guys during the event. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.